I'm a few minutes late. I'm sorry. I mismanaged my time this morning. Anyway, welcome to the Daycare Q&A Show. My name is Adrienne Bradley from Thriving Childcare, and thank you for joining me here this morning. I am, like I said, trying to still get set up here, so forgive me for being a few minutes late, but thank you for joining me. And if you are joining me live, do me a favor and send me some hearts and likes so I can see you and say hi. Um, Sometimes this dashboard is not the greatest, like it's not moving right now. So I have my laptop up over here to catch anything that I can't see on this dashboard as usual. But anyway, good morning. Today is May 21st, 2025, and it's a bright, shiny day here. I'm in Southern California, and it is a hot day. Actually, a hot week. I think yesterday was like 80 degrees, and today it's just going to be slightly better than that. So we heading into summer, y'all. We heading into summer. But anyway, so let me take care of some housekeeping, and then I got lots to share with you today. We got some good questions too. But let's see. I don't want to forget. First of all, this episode is sponsored by the Rise and Thrive Club, which is our members only, provider only club. And I would love for you to join that club. I would love for you to join. There's so many resources that you can look forward to in that club. Um, I share with you a lot of the things that are in the Thriving Childcare shop are free of charge to our members, but there's also workshops and roadmaps like how to set up an EIN, how to set up a bank account. I think the new one this week was how to use Calendly or a calendar scheduler to set up your childcare tours. And I know a lot of people use the childcare apps, and I used to when I was running my childcare. That was a godsend, to be honest. But if you don't have the budget to invest in something like that right now, or you're not sure which one you want to use, but you still want to set up some systems that can make your whole journey a little bit easier, that's what using something like Calendly or something, some of these other tools can do for you. The childcare apps are great because they incorporate so many different things. Some of them you can do your billing with. You can do reminders. You can, I think, I think now even send your enrollment forms through the app, which is something that I don't think I used the app to do that when I was running my childcare, but I did send my enrollment forms through an email, which kept me from having to photocopy them all, and then if they didn't enroll, I just wasted paper and ink for nothing. Um, but yeah, so inside the club, there's a lot of resources to help you run your business smoother. Because let me tell you, I realized over time that having systems made my life so much easier, and that's not easy when you are somebody with ADD like me. You tend to be scattered all over the place all the time, and you don't realize, excuse me, you don't realize how frustrating having to reinvent the wheel every time you need to go and do that same thing over and over again. And having a system um, in place, or SOPs is what they call it in the business world, standard operating procedures. This is what the club is good for, because it gives you a process of how to do something that you can incorporate and do all, over and over and over again. You don't have to try and remember what you did the last time. Anyway, so if you're interested in the Rise and Thrive Club, I would love to see you there. You get direct access to me inside the club as well. So go over and check it out at thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC. That's thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC. The RTC is Rise and Thrive Club, but RTC, join RTC. The link is also in the description below, so you can click on that too. All right. Let me tell you about the blog post that the most recent blog post on thrivingchildcare.com for this week. It is how to stop getting ghosted after childcare tours. I'm hearing from a lot of providers. I would be at workshops and they would be telling me about, parents not enrolling after tours, and they didn't know what had gone wrong. Everything seemed to have gone right, and I've been through that myself. Years ago, you clean up the place, you get ready for the tour, and sometimes they didn't even show up for the tour, which by then I realized, okay, I don't want them as a client because they're unreliable from jump. But sometimes you would just have these tours and you would vibe with the client or the parents and the child, and then nothing. Then nothing. And in this blog post, I kind of go through some of that and talk about what might be happening if you're not hearing back from them. But also, I go over the follow up that I eventually started to do, which was to reach out to them after the tour. I don't want to give too much away. I would love for you to go over and check the post out so you can click the link below and go to the blog and read this whole post. But um, there's a little bit more that we can do that will up the chances of them enrolling in our program. And that's what I finally realized. And I give you templates over there this week on how to do them. You can even download free templates um, for the follow up that I put in place. It's called the what do I call it? The follow up formula. The follow up formula. But go over and check this out. It's called How to Stop Getting Ghosted After Childcare Tours, and it's up on the blog thrivingchildcare.com, and you can read that today. And be sure to download the follow up formula, because I know it might be different from something that you've done in the past, but if what we did in the past was still working, we wouldn't be looking to change it. We wouldn't be looking to complain about it. It would be still working. It's just like anything else. You have a recipe and it still is tastes good and nothing's changed. Why would you change it? But when it doesn't start to taste good is where you need to make a change. You need to realize something needs to change. So go over and check that out today. Okay. Um, let's see. Also, while you're there, download the Thriving Childcare Roadmap, okay? Because that is going to give you, I talk to a lot of providers in workshops and in different environments, and I know it's not. Hey, Denitra, hey there. Sorry, I didn't see you pop in. This dashboard is tripping. But yeah, I hear from a lot of providers, and this is not necessarily an easy time for our industry. Some providers are doing well, and others are really struggling. And in this roadmap, I kind of give you some tools to be able to kind of clarify your vision for your business. And it could be that your vision has changed since you started your business. I mean, I was in business for over 20 years, and I never stopped to think, had my vision for my business changed during that time. And I think that's a missed opportunity because things change in the world. Look, we just went 5 years ago, we went through something we never thought we would have to go through, a whole pandemic, and run our businesses. Um, so I think that we need to take the time to revisit those things. It could be that we had a different perspective on what a childcare business was when we started our business, right? So I give you some tools in that roadmap, in the childcare roadmap, the Thriving Childcare Roadmap, to kind of get that clarity, and then, like I was talking about a moment ago, kind of streamline some of your operations to make things a little easier, because all the time that we spend on our businesses, it can be exhausting. And if you can put in place some things that allow you to recapture some of that time, I know I would have loved it. I also give you some tips on how to attract and enroll new families, um, and how to scale without the stress. So go over and check out the Thriving Childcare Roadmap. It's right in that same blog post that I was talking to you about earlier, the blog post, the recent blog post, so you can get it there as well. But yeah, check that out. It's a free download. I'd love for you to check that out. Okay. Looking at my notes. Looking at my notes so I stay on task today. Let's see. Okay. So I've already talked to you about that. Oh, so I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, but we're really, really close to the first episodes of the Usual Suspects panel. So what that is, let me just give you some background. It is a new feature here on the on the Daycare Q&A show that is going to be like a panel discussion, kind of like Meet the Press type of style. That's what I've been liking it to, where it will be a number of people in our industry, both providers, coaches, other professionals that service and help us to run our businesses, those kind of folks on a panel discussing a topic once a month. And that way you can get more perspective than just coming from me. I don't know everything. And even after running that business for over 20 years, there were things that I didn't encounter that, and I talk about it here a lot, that some of my close colleagues did. And there were things that I encountered that they didn't. So I think that this is going to be really good to have different perspectives, because that's what this show's about, is giving you a different outlook on things that maybe you haven't encountered, you may never encounter, or maybe you never thought of. I know when I started my childcare business, there were things I never could have conceived would happen. Parents, uh, some children, licensing, all those things that you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're going to encounter. And having a place like this to kind of, you know, be thought provoking and give you some perspective on how you might want to handle something if you ever have to deal with it, I think would have been great. Just, I mean, coming from somebody like me who knows what it's like, who knows what it's like to be in the trenches, right? So anyway, I'm super excited about the Usual Suspects. That's what I'm calling it. And I've already got some amazing people lined up. But if you are interested in maybe being one of those providers in the room and being on the panel and picking up the mic, I would love for you to apply as well. You can click the link below and go over and fill out a couple of questions. It's very, very basic questions. And like I said, I see this as being a monthly installation. If it takes off, maybe we'll do it even more frequently, but at least monthly. And it's a rotating group of panelists. So I think it's going to be a really good addition to the show here. I'm going to scroll down, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. All right. So yeah. So click the link below, and you can go over and fill out those few questions. It shouldn't take you more than a minute, maybe two, and yeah, get in the seat, pick up a mic, give us your perspective, because, like I say, I'm not the only provider in the room. Okay. So let's see. Went over that. Blah 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 blah. Okay. All right. We got some questions today, but before we get into the questions, I usually go to the provider planner and organizer. Like I said, that is our Stripe version behind me. And it's coming up on June, and I've got something really special coming up with regard to the planner. And it's gonna be really exciting. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. But anyway, every week I usually go to the planner and see what's happening, because in the provider planner and organizer, we have national days that that's what's so different about this planner. It's not just like any other planner. There are national days in here that one of the features is a national days um, section for each week, And they're national days that I think would be great to do a project around, set up an activity around, sometimes even a meal around. And like last week, I think I was telling you it was Dance Like a Chicken Day. And that is like my favorite one in the planner. It was one of my favorite ones in the planner. And I always bring up the fact that my daughter believes that these are not real. I promise you they are. You can Google them. These are real international and national days. And it's just to kind of spark some creativity for you, some inspiration for you, because sometimes we can get stuck in doing the same old thing, the same old way, and that's not fun. All right, so let's see. Today is the 21st. Let me get to the 21st of May. By the way, this planner is undated, so you can jump in at any time and still get a full year out of this planner. So um, today's the 21st. Okay, I went too far. Let me see. Sorry. Let me see. Okay, no, I didn't. So we don't have too much going on today, but on the 24th, which I bet you that is, when is the 24th? That's Saturday. So I don't know if you're open on Saturday, and this is the long holiday weekend coming up, right? Memorial Day is on Monday, I do believe. I hope you're taking off. I hope you're taking off. If you're not, maybe you want to take advantage of the fact that on the 24th is National Scavenger Hunt Day. So why not set up a scavenger hunt maybe this Friday? You've got a couple of days. It would be super easy. Just take some stuff that you've got um, laying around the child care, and maybe if you can get outside, maybe put them someplace outside and set up a scavenger hunt for the kids to find them and to mark down. You know how scavenger hunt works. That would be so much fun. Or maybe you can go and download a scavenger hunt game and put that together really fast for the kids. I think that would be fun, especially leading into a long holiday weekend. Or maybe you want to share it with the parents and they can do something like that with their kids over the long weekend. A lot of them don't know what to do with their own kids when they have these days off if you are closed. Maybe giving them the idea of doing a scavenger hunt, a Memorial Day scavenger hunt. I think that would be so much fun. Okay, and then we do have Memorial Day, like I said, I believe that is Monday. And then on the 30th, which is next Friday, so we'll meet again before that. I, yeah, we'll meet again before that. Is National Water a Flower Day. So maybe if you have some seeds, if you don't, maybe pick some up from the Dollar Tree or something like that. They even have those little seed pots, that already have the seeds in them. And prepare for a nice little project next Friday. Not this Friday, the following Friday on the 30th for National Water a Flower Day. And then the 31st, which is the following Saturday, is National Smile Day. So I don't know, maybe get some smile stickers, and when the kids leave on that Friday, maybe give them a smile sticker as a wish for them to have a happy weekend or something like that. So, all right, let's get into some of these questions. But before I do, I always give this disclaimer, and it is to say that the responses or advice or things that I cover here on the show, they are based on my 20 plus years in this industry, my experiences that I had when I was running my own childcare, and or someone close to me, one of my close colleagues, um, something that they went through. Um, but but as I said earlier, they didn't go through everything I went through, and I didn't go through everything they went through. And so you might not go through this at all. You might not have this issue. It may not, what I say may not resonate with you. It may not vibe with what you do and how you run your business, and that is completely fine. It is your business. We all have similar businesses, but we have unique businesses. And so if you hear something that works for you, great. You're welcome to adopt it, twerk it. You see where my mind is? Um, Tweak it, make it your own, and use it if it works. If it doesn't work, don't. I'm not telling you what to do. Absolutely not. Like I said, your business is your business. You know what's best for your business. So take what works and leave the rest. It's probably for somebody else. Okay. So, with that being said, this show is for entertainment. It is not meant to be or give any legal advice. It is to share just advice that maybe you can use, maybe not. I'm a little off today. Can you tell? Anyway, let me get into some of these questions. Okay. So the first question is, Adrian, how can I explain my rate increase to current families without feeling guilty or awkward? She says, it's that time again. I know my rates need to go up, but I always dread the conversation. Help. Okay. Well, and I feel like we've covered this a number of times on the show, and that just shows that it's kind of a common thing that providers go through. I went through it. I totally get it. I totally get the awkwardness and even the guilt, or at least I would have understood that back then. But let's talk about the guilt first. I'm pretty sure that you are aware, I'm in California in the United States, that we are in a tariff situation, right? Now, that being said, we're also finding how much that can affect us on so many different areas of our life, so many different things, right? We all realize that that's happening. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that your rates probably needed to be increased even before that to cover costs and to cover inflation and all of that. There should be no guilt around that. You're trying to provide quality care, a quality child care for the families that you serve. And if you're out there um, skimping on things, um, doing things that don't resonate with what you want your child care to represent, and affecting that quality, the quality part of your child care, then you're absolutely right. Your rates should go up. And you know what I found too? I found that the anxiousness that I had around the way the parents were going to receive that, it was for the most part unwarranted. Number one, I wasn't increasing so much that it really made a difference. I can't remember anybody leaving because I increased my rates. I literally do not. Maybe there was some mention of it or whatever, but they didn't leave. It wasn't worth them leaving the child care that they and their child care loved and felt a belonging to. So most of that was in my own head, and I want to say for most of us childcare providers, I think that's what happens. We just get anxious about, maybe we internalize how we would feel going to the store and seeing that the ketchup is now $1 more than what we were paying. But to that point, it is what it is. If I need that ketchup, then I've just got to figure it out. And most of your clients will do the same. Like I said, you might have the odd conversation with somebody, but not everybody's going to come for you over a 2%, 3% increase. They really are not. It's just like the tariffs. We've got to suck it up, and they will deal with it. I know that with a lot of parents, the mindset is that childcare costs too much, and they're paying already a lot for it, and so forth. But they realize, at least most parents who have had to search for childcare realize it's a big deal to find some place that you feel comfortable leaving your child. I had children um, long time ago, but I know what it was like to leave them, and to leave them with someone who wasn't a family member, somebody who was pretty much a stranger. You are nervous about that. You are, I remember going to work after having my baby. I think this was a first baby, the second baby. And I remember crying at my desk because I was away from him and I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know if he was okay. I had to just trust that he was, but I was going through it, and it wasn't easy. And you have to know that a lot of the parents that you serve go through that same cycle of emotions too. But then one day, they see that their child is flourishing. They see the love and the care that you provide, and they start to get more comfortable. They start to trust that everything is okay. And that ain't nothing. That's something. And that's not something you want to just throw away. I mean, literally, I've had clients say over the years, I would have them come and say, actually, I've had clients come back that had graduated out, right, or aged out of the program. And parents come back and say, Miss A, what you do here is really special. And I appreciated that. But you know why they said that? They've been out in the world and they have seen that not every place is like that. Not every person is like you. And you need to appreciate that for yourself and be confident in the role that you play, and the importance of that role in that family's life, in that child's life. Um, it is a big deal. And if on occasion that requires a little bit more of an investment from your clients, you have to be confident in knowing that what you do and what you provide is damn well worth it. So that was the guilt part of that question I wanted to get out of the way. Denisha said, I love a good scavenger hunt. Sorry, I'm just getting back to that. Yep, me too. I can think of that would be fun to do. Like, I'm thinking of an adult scavenger hunt right now for myself. But anyway. Okay, so let's get to the rate increase. All right, so that was the whole get gone with the guilt thing. All right. Um, like I said, she says without feeling awkward or guilty. Okay, we dealt with the guilt. Um, the awkwardness should go too, because you realize that this is more than likely something you need to do to run your business to the standard that you want to run your business. Okay, so my suggestion is to put out that rate increase, put out a memo, put up a sign, send a send an email, send a task. However you inform your clients, I would give them notice, and that it is what it is. Okay. My cousin put something up on Facebook yesterday. I think it was yesterday about, I think she was buying something from Lululemon. And right there at the bottom, when she went to go check out, she screenshot and put it up that there was, I don't know how much the leggings were. I don't know, or if she was buying leggings, whatever the purchase was. At the bottom, there was a $6 tariff charge, and it literally listed out tariff. And the reason why they did that, I'm presuming, I don't work for that company, but they wanted you to know this is necessary. This is beyond our control, and it's just something that is. Okay? So, not trying to get you to be cutthroat or anything, but you are running a business. I've said that time and time again, and you know this. And this is what businesses do. Okay, so make the rate increase known, give them enough notice. I will say that. I would say if you can 30 days. I think that's pretty standard. Um, and it is what it is. Okay? If they want to talk to you about it, you're confident now. You can talk to them about it and you can explain, just like that tariff charge right there, this is necessary. This is necessary so I can maintain the standard of care that you want for your child here. Who's going to argue with that? Who's going to argue with that? They know inflation and things are high now. So, I mean, I would be taken aback. I wouldn't argue with you. I'd be like, yeah, I get it. So, all right, let's get on to question two. Denitra, what do you think, by the way? And anybody else here, if you're watching this on replay or if you're watching this live, what do you think? How do you, or how did you inform your clients of a rate increase, or do you plan on putting in a rate increase anytime soon? Put it in the comments. Let us know. Maybe you have some further tips that can be helpful to providers who go through this. But I mean, we all go through this. You know, we do if we want to maintain the um, the quality childcare that we want. We go through this. So please put in the comments. Let me know or let us know. All right, let me get on to question two. So, question two is, I'm getting inquiries for care that doesn't match my hours. Should I adjust my schedule or stick to my boundaries? I keep getting requests for evening or weekend care, and I'm torn between saying yes or protecting my time. What do you suggest? Um, that's a really good question. I don't think we've had a question like that here before. So here's the thing. Like I said, I'm in California, and we are licensed, or I was a licensed provider. And part of that licensing process was to apply for the license based on the hours, the working hours, or the operation hours that I wanted for the business. So I'm just gonna pick this. I can't remember. I think initially maybe I had 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I did change that over time, but let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, it was 6 to 6. Okay, that's what I was licensed for. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, so if somebody comes to a tour or they call me and want to inquire about childcare and they say, well, I actually need childcare till 7 o'clock. Well, currently, as my license would, as I just told you, my license stated, I would not be able to do that, not legally, because I would be out of compliance because those are not during the operating hours that I was licensed for as a provider. So now, in that incident, if I decided that I wanted to, I could go to licensing and get my hours changed, my operating hours changed, so I still would be compliant. Or, and in my situation, the or would take effect here. I would have to tell them, well, I'm sorry, we are not open during the hours of care that you need. All right. So it really depends on, just like I said earlier, what you want to do with your business. What, and like I said, I'm in California. Maybe you're in some other part of the country, some other part of the world, and you don't have that same scenario where you have stipulated hours that you can care for children. Um, so you have to deal with the situation accordingly. However, there's two other things. There's two other underlying things here that I want to address. Number one is, if you're getting a lot of inquiries, maybe three. If you're getting a lot of inquiries for, what did she say, evening or weekend care, then that might mean that there's, most probably does mean that there's a need for that type of care in your community, at least the community that's reaching out to you, wherever that is. Okay. So it's worth considering whether or not, like I said earlier, um, you want to change your business model, make some changes. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. I personally was not interested in evening or weekend care, but I do know some providers that provide 24-hour care 7 days a week. They were licensed for that. So if that's something that is acceptable or a possibility that you might be interested in doing, then it's worth considering because it sounds like there's a need for that in the community. And when there's a need and there's not other people to fill it, you are in a really good position. As a matter of fact, at workshops, talking about talking to new and soon to be providers, that is exactly the exercise I would advise them to do. Find out what the need is in your community. And you can do that by going to local Facebook groups, forums. You can, when you're talking to parents, talking to your local CCR, you can get that information and see where there's a need that isn't being filled and fill that need, and you will be filled. You know what I mean? I mean, your spots will be filled. So that's one. Number two, if that's not something that you're interested in doing, then are you aware of who your ideal client is? And I know that when I started my business many, many years ago, that wasn't something I really was in the know to know that I should know. It makes it a lot easier to find your ideal client when you know who they are. You know what they want, what they need, and where they hang out. So I would say pay attention to that. And I had a client a few years back, and she asked me. She said, "Well, how am I going to know? I just started my business. How would I know who my ideal client is?" Well, there's some things that you can um, distill down really quick. You need somebody who's lives in the area that your business is, right? Or lives or works in the area that your business is, right? I'm just picking a few um, things. You need somebody who needs the working hours or that your childcare, the operating hours of your childcare, right? You need someone, you need a client or a child or a family, however you want to look at, who is between a certain age group if you're licensed between a certain age group. So see, some of this stuff is pretty easy when you start to think about who that ideal client needs to be or needs or the needs that they have, right? So that's two, right? Do that exercise. I don't care if you've been in business for years and years and years. It makes it so much easier to target the people that you really want than everybody. Okay. Um, and then what was the third thing? I'm gonna look here. Um, oh, she said, stick to my boundaries. Okay, that kind of indicates that you have set up your hours and the structure of your business based on maybe other obligations you have, family obligations, or based on the time that you want to actually operate your business. And I would say this last part to me is the most important. If you have some some specific boundaries, right? You must stick to them. And the reason I say it like that is because if you don't, burnt boundaries lead to a burnt provider. I just came up with that. If you do not maintain the boundaries that you set, you will get burnt out and you will not be in this profession because you will loathe it, because you will resent it. You will resent it. Let me scroll down. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Hi, Maggie. I didn't see you come in. Hi, Maggie. Maggie's in Austin, Texas. Hi. How you doing? Thanks for joining me. Um, yeah. So whether you're interested in maybe adjusting your hours, doing whatever it takes where you are to do that, or what was the other thing? What was the other thing I said? you do, no matter what, need to know who your ideal client is. But whatever, you definitely need to maintain. Sorry, I have something on my eye. You need to maintain those boundaries that you set, because if you don't advocate for them, who is? It's it's you. I wrote a blog post years ago called the Child Care Enforcer, and I got these comments underneath. Actually, I think the comments come before somebody even reads the post. But anyway, I got these comments like, "LOL, who's that?" And it's like, it's you. You're the enforcer. I mean, it would be nice to have the Terminator come in and take care of some stuff for me. I'm not gonna lie, but that's not gonna happen. I need to maintain the boundaries that I have set. And once you get comfortable realizing that you have every right to do this is your business. You are also forward thinking if you're doing that. You're realizing you don't want to get burnt out and that that would be coming for you if you don't. Then you're actually doing them a favor, because if you get burnt out and shut your business down, you're not helping yourself or the families that you service, right? So maintain those boundaries no matter what. That answered that question. Okay, let me move on because I tend to get long winded when I get all flustered about something. All right. Next question says, Adrian, what should I include in a welcome package for new families, a new daycare families? I want to make a great first impression, but I'm not always sure what info is essential versus overwhelming. Okay, that's a really good question, and I don't think we've had that one either. Um, so, again, this is going to be location specific. In other words, like I said earlier, I'm in California in the United States. If you are someplace else in the world, your required documentation and things that you have to have the parents complete or be given to them is gonna be different than unless you're where I'm at. But I would say a nice welcome letter, and these can all be canned things. You know what I mean? They can be templates, right? If you want to personalize it with their name, you can do that. But a nice warm letter saying welcome, and it doesn't have to be long. Welcome to my childcare was called Child's Play. Welcome to Child's Play Childcare. We're so glad you're here. Just want to remind you of a couple of things. Maybe remind them of some specific things that get forgotten, especially with new clients, like when tuition's due, how to submit tuition, that there's a late fee if you submit tuition late. There's a late fee if you pick up. Not all the negative things, but just a couple of key things I would put in there, and be sure to mention something really positive too. But I did start off by saying we're so glad you're here. Um, Maybe welcome to the family, using some words and some verbiage like that makes people feel a lot more comfortable. Um, so obviously you need to include the paperwork that your licensing body requires you to have. Um, I was talking before about using the childcare apps. Well, back when I was running my childcare, I did, like I said, have an app that I used, and there was a version that was for me and my staff, and there was a version for parents. And what you might want to do, and what I wound up doing in my welcome packet, was to put the instructions on how to download the app and how to set up their profile on the app. So if you use one of those apps, and the parent needs to know how to access that for some reason or whatever, or how you use the app, that might also be a good thing to put in your enrollment pack. I would say you're right. Keep to the essentials, because the whole process is overwhelming for many new families. You don't want to put so much stuff in there. Number one, they're not going to read it all. So I would say put in there, if how do they access the parent handbook? Um, I already said the welcome letter, the sick and illness policy, That's something I would put in there. I mean, these things will you'll become clear on what should be in your packet over time. But these are just some generalized things, and I think this is a really good topic to maybe write a blog post about. I might do that at some point. But um, so those are just some general ideas, and like I said, with each new wave of parents, or maybe with each new client, you'll realize, oh, I should include this, and that'll probably be based on them asking you a question or something like that. But I would always remember. Look at my dog. Can you see him? He's upside down. Anyway, just threw me off through my train of thought up. But I would, like you said, keep to the essentials because they're not going to read everything. And maybe that's fine. They have it in the packet whenever they want to refer to it again. Oh, you might want to put in there how to reach you, the best times to reach you. But these are just, I'm just spitfiring ideas that I could have included in mine. You may or may not want to include those kind of things in there. Um, but yeah, I think I will write a blog post about that because I think this is a good topic to have. But keep it to the essentials. I think you're right. Keep it so it makes it less overwhelming for your new family. All right, let me continue. Oh, we're on time. We're on time. Okay. Next question says, how do I handle kids who cry at drop off every single day? I know separation anxiety is normal, but after weeks of tears, I'm starting to feel drained and unsure of how to help. Um, and I would say most of us go through this at least a few times with different children, different families, and so forth. And I know that I talked about this either in the last episode last week or the week before. There's this book, and I didn't come back with the link. I'm going to do that. There's this book called The Kissing Hand, and I think I had been introduced to it when I was interning all those years ago at that daycare, and then I wound up finding the book, and it was one of those big, like, I don't know, 3 foot books that you can get like at Costco and stuff like that. And anyway, it's called The Kissing Hand, and I don't remember the story. I don't remember the story, but it had everything to do with leaving a child, leaving the parent, but that everything was going to be okay and they were going to see them later. I'm going to go read this book so the next time this comes up, I know what I'm talking about. But anyway, talk to the parents. That's another thing that you can do when you have a newly enrolled family, is to talk to them about what drop off is going to look like, especially the first day, right? So that they're prepared. Because remember, I was telling you earlier how that first day back at my job, I was bawling at my desk because I missed my new baby. I missed my son. Well, acknowledge that. Maybe talk to the parents about that it's going to be hard for them as much as the child. Sometimes the child's so young that they don't really, an infant not really is going to be too aware. As they get a little bit older, they are aware of being separated at drop off and so forth. But on your end, maybe there's something you can do to make the environment more welcoming, so when the child comes in, there's something that catches their attention and that they want to go and do. I know that I would, these were older children, but I would put the dinosaurs out on the table so that when they walked in, one of the first things they saw was the dinosaurs. Oh, it must be playtime, so they would rush in. um, Let me see what else. Talk to the parents. This is what I did mention either last week or the week before. Talk to the parents about what it looks like right before they drop off. I remember talking to my clients about talking to the child on the drive over about what they're going to do today, how much fun they're going to have, and that they're going to see their friends, and you can't wait to talk to them about it when you get off work and come and pick them up, and what do they want to tell Miss A when they get there, and really getting them to anticipate it so by the time they get here, they are all excited about being at daycare and rushing in. Typically, it didn't last forever. Um, I can't remember in my childcare where it lasted very long at all. That separation anxiety and all of that drama at the door, um, door drama. Um, I can't remember it lasting an extended period of time, but if it does, you might want to inquire with your client what is happening right before they come. I do remember having one client where the child on the drive over was just fussing and crying and everything, and this was giving the parent the impression that they didn't want to be here, they didn't want to come. And I knew that wasn't the case though, because as soon as the child got here, she would run in and she didn't look back. She didn't look back to see what mom was doing or anything. And I shared that with mom. But, and I won't lie, I kind of got insulted that she was implying that because she said, oh, she hates it here. And I'm thinking, well, why do you bring her if she hates it here? But I knew that wasn't true. So I talked to her and I said, well, what do they do? What is she doing right before it's time to come to daycare? And it wasn't so much that, it was the child was on a part time schedule. It was the days in between. And I found out that on the days that she wasn't in daycare, she was with her grandparents and she didn't even have to get dressed. She got up where she when whatever time she wanted. She ate breakfast at whatever time she wanted. So there was no structure. So that gave me the information that I needed because on the days that she came to daycare, she had to get up. She had to get dressed. She had to eat at a certain time because the mom had to leave and get her here. And so I explained to the mom that that her schedule was completely different on the days that she didn't come here. And so it was confusing to her. And of course, she resisted it because she didn't want to get up. She wanted to, she wanted the freer schedule. And so once we talked about that, mom understood that it was kind of working against her for her to have a schedule that was completely different on the days that she didn't come to daycare. It's kind of like when you talk to your clients about the weekend or like this is about to be a long weekend. You can't make them, but I would suggest to them that they understand that kids are just like us. And I don't know about you, but I wind up waking up at the same time, even on Saturday and Sunday, because that's what my body's used to doing. And I would suggest to the parents to, as much as they could, keep to that schedule that the child's used to. So they typically nap at this time. I can tell you how many parents I've seen take their child out to go get pictures or something right around the time that they typically take a nap. And so, of course, there's drama. They're crying. They're tired because their body's used to taking a nap at that time, right? So I would try to encourage them to, as much as they could, keep to that schedule so that it's not so hard on the child. And it's not so hard on the child when they come back. So next Tuesday, when they come back from the long holiday weekend, it's not so hard for them to get back into the rhythm of what we do here because that's what they're used to. That's what their body's used to. So I have forgotten the question. I'm gonna refresh my memory here. Oh, crying. So try and find out, get more energy, no energy, more information on what's happening leading up to the drop off. Okay. Um, Sometimes I found out it was the parent creating a lot of drama that the child was processing. Like, I'm gonna miss you so bad, and I wish you didn't have to go to daycare today. And they're putting all that energy into that and the child's picking up on that and so they're reacting the way they know how to react. So, and I think a lot of parents just don't realize that they're doing that. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, I didn't miss anything yet. Okay, all right. So yeah, try and find out, get more information about what's happening, and then maybe offer some helpful tips on maybe making some tweaks and some changes to drop off, um, and encouraging them to be put positive spins on them coming to daycare. I know I had more than one parent say, "Oh, I feel so sorry for them," and I said, "Sorry for them for what?" And they said, "Because they have to go to daycare." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you telling them this?" And I'm like, "Why? They're gonna have a blast. Okay, we're gonna have a 4-star breakfast, and they're gonna play with their friends, and we're gonna read books, and we're gonna go outside. Where is the downside to all of that?" And but in their mind, they're not home with their child, so it's a negative thing, and that's why they felt like they needed to feel sorry for their child. So anyway, get more information, turn it around, spin the negative into positive in that parent's mind, and I think you'll see a change. I think you'll see a change. All right, let me get to the last question, and we're going to go a little bit because I started late today. We're going to go a few minutes past the hour, but not much past. We're on time. This is the last question. I will come back and put the link to the kissing hand, like I said I was going to do, um, um, after after the show. Okay. Last question. It says, Adrian, is it worth it investing in a camera system for my home daycare? Some providers say it's a game changer. Others say it's unnecessary. What's your take? This is another good question. I have not addressed this before. Okay, now, most of you know that, like I said in this episode, I had a child care for over 20 years, but I sunsetted that business in 2020. So I I think that this is of the newer way of um, running your child care is to have cameras and so forth. I think that the daycares may have had child cameras a while ago, and I could be wrong. Maybe a lot of child care providers have had cameras for a long time. Um, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I was considering putting a camera in the infant room, um, just so I could be alerted if the child woke up or something. I don't think I ever did though. The only camera I had was my Ring camera, and that was for the front door, because it's a whole nother story for another day. But that was very necessary and very. That was one of the best purchases I made because there was drama. Anyway, so I didn't have cameras in my childcare. I have talked to some newer providers who thought they had to have cameras in their childcare. To my knowledge, that is not the case. You don't have to. Again, I'm in California. If you're someplace else, obviously you probably have different laws or mandates. So I'm not speaking for you. You do need to research that and see if that's the case. But sorry, I'm hungry. I did not have cameras. And I can tell you that if I was running my childcare today, I still would not have cameras. And the reason being is um, I'm running my business out of my home. And I don't want those cameras on when it's me and my family. And I don't want to forget to turn the cameras off and do all of that. Not only that, I want to maintain the privacy of the other children. A lot of times, I don't know if this is the case in this situation with this question, if the parents are saying that that's something that they're looking for. And again, if you don't have a problem with it, this is totally a your decision moment. But the parents usually are thinking about their child and trying to feel comfortable that their child is safe, and this is why they want the cameras. I get it. But what they're not considering is the other children in care and their privacy. So, and I guess if all the parents agreed, then I guess it would be fine. But I think that there is room for there to be some privacy issues. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I am just, in this case, seriously, just speaking for myself. I'm going to ask some of my colleagues that are still running their childcare businesses if they have cameras, and why the decision they made to have cameras. And if you're watching this on replay, please come in the comments and let me know. Let us know if you have cameras and what led you to that decision. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just think there's a what you're comfortable with situation here. But again, I would not have had cameras in my home. Um, a lot of times I found with my clients, just saying mine, that they tended to want to impose what they did in their home to my home. I mean, I literally, excuse me, that's when I know I need to stop talking when I get dry mouth and I'm starting to cough. So I'm going to end in a minute. But I literally had a client ask me to change my light bulbs. And I was like, what? And and these light bulbs that she was referring to, it didn't matter, but they were in a room that the children weren't even in. And her reasoning was when I said, what, why? Um, was she said if they were to fall over and break, then mercury could spread and obviously her child could get um, poisoned. And I was like, okay, we're not changing the light bulbs. First of all, if you look it up, most of the light bulbs aren't even, they don't even have that anymore. But back then they did. But they weren't even in that room. The amount of mercury that would be exposed was infinitesimal. Like, really. Anyway, if that's something that she wanted to do in her home, that's fine. Okay? But as long as I was following all of the safety protocols that I needed to follow under my license and under the mandates that I needed to follow to run my child care, there needs to be some comfortability in that. Okay? We are not um, setting up these snowflake situations. This is a new word that, not a new word, but a new meaning that I just came to understand. All these, because snowflakes are different. Every last one of them is different from the next. We're not setting up all these snowflake situations in this group environment. Okay, it's not going to work. And again, I'm speaking for my child care. If there's something you want to accommodate as far as these cameras go, then go for it. Um, what I will say is if you do, I'm pretty sure that you need to advise everyone that they're there and where the feed is going, and if there's a tape that's saved, where is it saved and under what conditions is it used and all of that good stuff. But again, that's something that I wouldn't have had. Let me go down here. Um, Denitra said you need to have emotionally mature parents to have cameras. Yep. Yeah, you do. You really do. I mean, again, it's probably and I think you probably agree, Denitra. It's probably a specific business owner call. You need to decide if the pros outweigh the cons in this situation. Whether you decide to have them or not, take in consideration everything I just said about disclosing that they're there, but also you might have to get permissions from the parents. I know with the child care apps I was talking about earlier, I had to get permission from the parents because in the app we would take pictures of the kids throughout the day. And I specifically remember one client, I had their twins, and they did not want pictures of their children taken. They did not want pictures, not even for them, because I didn't use pictures of the children in my advertisements and stuff like that, and they knew that. They didn't want pictures taken of the children at all. And I said, okay, well then understand that in the app you will never be able to see pictures of your children. And they I think it was a little overboard on their part, but that's what they said. So I'm pretty sure that if you're installing cameras in the childcare, then that's something that probably part of the enrollment process will involve them um, allowing permission for their child to be taped. I'm pretty sure that that would be necessary. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Denitra said, and more importantly, how they will be used and the rules of access. Exactly, exactly. So that's another consideration. So there's a lot to unpack when it comes to um, having cameras um, in in a childcare setting like that, even if it's in your home, even if it's in your home. And that's another good blog post. Maybe I'll address at some point. Okay, that was going down. All right. So that's my take on it. Again, I'm no longer running my childcare, so you need to make the decision for yourself. But I would make an informed decision. Maybe talk to some resources if you're in a union or if you are a member of your CCR. Ask what kinds of things, considerations you need to make around number one, making that decision, and number two, if you do decide to have cameras, what you need to do to make sure you're compliant with the laws, privacy laws, and everything. And I'll just say this and close with this. But if you decide not to, like I told you, I probably would have, then have some understanding of why you are not doing that, so that when someone asks you about it, you can respond confidently. Respond. Okay. Um, and for me, again, it would have been, this is my home. I really don't want that type of um, invasion of my family time, or the possibility of my family time being invaded with a privacy issue like that. So that would have been what I said. But okay. So hopefully that helped. I will come back and leave the links that I talked about and some of the resources that I mentioned. I am going to consider those two blog posts on those two issues. These were really good questions today. Thank you guys so much. And by the way, if you have a question you would like for me to answer here on the show, even if you can't make the show, you can always leave your question and I will be sure to either come back in the comments and answer it, or get it on the show next week. You can go to thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question. That's thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question. And just leave it there for me and I will make sure to get it on the show next week. Okay? All right. I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I hope you do have a great long weekend, holiday weekend. Um, yeah, so again, thank you so much for joining me here today. And listen, if you are enjoying the show, let me tell you about the Rise and Thrive Club. I know I mentioned it earlier, but it is our club, our membership for providers only, where you will feel prepared, supported, and equipped to grow a thriving childcare business without doing it all alone. There's so many resources. And like I said, you get access to me, so you get coaching and a lot of support for whether you're new to running a childcare or if you are pivoting and making some changes in your childcare business. We're here for that too. So go over and check out the Rise and Thrive Club. You can do that at thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC, or you can reach out to me here. You can also click the link in the comments, but you can reach out to me here if you have any questions. I would love to see you a part of our community there. Okay. So until next week, take care, stay safe, and keep thriving. My name is Adrienne Bradley, your host for the Daycare Q&A Show, and I can't wait to continue this incredible journey with you next week. But until then, keep thriving. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on today's episode of the Daycare Q&A Show. I hope it gave you clarity, encouragement, or even that little push you needed today. If you're looking for more support, tools, and real-life resources to help you grow your childcare business, I'd love to invite you to join us inside the Rise and Thrive Club. It's our member-only community just for childcare providers, where you'll get access to a growing library of done-for-you tools, exclusive training, monthly live Q&A calls, and so much more. And the best part, you don't have to do this alone. So whether you're just getting started or you've been in the game for years, there's a place for you inside the club. You can join us right now at thrivingchildcare.com/joinRTC. I can't wait to see you on the inside. And hey, if you like this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share it with another provider who could use some encouragement today. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep thriving. I'll see you on the next episode.